events like this one are important to take stock of where you are, kind of assess the landscape, look at the infrastructure, look around you, what the resources are available to you, get challenged by some provocative questions about, what is your better benefit? Yes, thank you. That's a tongue twister. And assess the current state of the economy and so on. Because if you don't do that, then you won't be prepared to respond effectively to the emerging opportunities that are facing you. I don't need to tell you the nature of the relationship between the United States and Canada. You know it, you live it, you've seen it. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands of how many people have visited the United States. No, I won't ask. I won't even ask how many Americans there are in the room. Just be quiet, you can talk to me after or something. But what I do want to say is, and this is, I was asked to come to speak about what the opportunities are in the United States for your operations and for your exports. Here's the short version, okay? The short version is that the United States economy is growing, finally. It's getting better, and we are still open for business. We want your exports. But it's more than that. We also, not only do we trade together, Canada and the United States, not only do we trade together, we also make things together. And so it's important to remember that as well as we are partnering together and we see all the challenges around the world and the opportunities around the world for the North American production platform. Okay, that was it. That was my executive summary. If you want to fall asleep for the rest of it, that's fine. Brian will kill me, but please, just so. The current state of manufacturing and the current state of natural resources in the United States, as I said, the economy is coming back. I think the short story for the natural resources, the international market for natural resources is on the climb again, and so as such, we are also benefiting as much as you and Prince George as a result of the increase in prices, and so we're bouncing back there. So it's very strong, and in the manufacturing sector, that's also important to us as well, because in the manufacturing sector, we're seeing key areas that are re-employing, that are growing and reinvesting, that is turning around to promote additional consumption and reinvigorating the U.S. economy. In such sectors as, I'll just name two. One is the auto sector. The auto sector is on its way back. First time since 2008, I believe, the last quarter, all three of the big three announced profits. That's a big deal. They also canceled all summer leave plans for their factories, given the increase in demand. So all those poor souls have to go back to work rather than hang out on the shores of Lake Michigan, I guess. Also, Tesla, not a big three, but an emerging one. They have yet to demonstrate profits yet. However, they did pay back their $465 million loan to the Department of Energy. It was a startup loan. They paid it back 9 years early. So not too bad there. So you can see the auto sector is growing. There's also in the technology sector is the other one that I wanted to mention, and I think you probably saw the news about Motorola Mobility deciding to move back from China and refocus its operations or open up its plant for the next generation of its phones in Fort Worth, Texas. Why are companies doing this? Well, I think it's a combination of a number of things. I think it has to do with low taxes, obviously, in the United States. It has to do with smart regulation on the part of the local and municipal authorities. It has to do with fair legal system, and it has to do with a skilled workforce in the United States. And I should add this fifth one. I think it's the proximity to a growing market as well, and that's important. Now, not all of the sectors in the United States, the manufacturing sectors, are growing equally well. I think there are still some that are lagging behind, but I just wanted to highlight for you that it's on the backs of these sectors, technology, auto, and others that are growing, that we're going to see an impetus for further growth and additional growth in the months to come, and a bounce back for the U.S. economy. I was asked to talk briefly about some opportunities for resource-based exports to the United States. I just want to highlight a few areas. Construction, which, as you know, is finally coming back as well. It's showing signs of emerging from a 6-year slump, in fact. Construction employment in the United States expanded in 2/3 of all U.S. states in December of last year, and in half of the nation in December, and then in half of the nation last year. So construction spending is on its way up as well. It's been rising. I would say that American contractors are still a little cautious about adding workers until they know that the upturn is going to last. But as far as residential construction that is here, the non-residential, the public construction, that's going to be somewhat slower. I still think, with the exception of the bridge in Washington State, we're still going to see a slowdown in some in public work. So there you go. I think that the construction industry, in short, provides Canadian companies in general, and then companies here in the surrounding area in northern BC, an opportunity in supplying new equipment for these construction firms. This also means an increase in cross-border sales of lumber, but also other building materials, and I think as one of the world's largest exporters of softwood lumber, you stand to gain as a result. Oil and gas is another area. Oil and gas, though, I have to say, is a little more complicated. You know that the energy trading relationship with Canada is a cornerstone of North American security, and we estimate that in the United States we have about 24 billion barrels of shale oil resources. State of North Dakota now produces more oil than Ecuador, which is an OPEC nation. Proven Canadian oil reserves are estimated at about 175 billion barrels. Essentially, all Canadian energy exports are to the United States. I don't see that changing. Our countries have an unparalleled energy trading relationship, but I think we're experiencing a phase of adjustment as the U.S. production and oil and gas soars. So I think that's going to be an interesting aspect. I think what I'm trying to say is that while, yes, the exports from Canada to the United States in the oil and gas sector will continue, I think it's becoming a little more complex in that there are opportunities for the two of us together, given the global oil prices, to not just work on ensuring our North American energy security needs, but also providing economic growth and consumption abroad as well, speaking from a North American production standard. Mining, it's similar. It's of a similar vein, and no pun intended. The outlook for U.S. and Canadian coal and minerals mining in the next year is also very positive due to clear improvements in the key sectors of U.S. economy, the global demand for mined products. I think thanks to the efforts of the government of British Columbia, the Canadian mining sector is projected to grow over the next 5 years. The BC's mining plan to have 8 new mines and 9 new mining expansions by 2015 does help considerably. And I think that as Canadian and U.S. mining companies are pressured to increase their production and expand, I think they're going to be looking for long-term suppliers and long-term partners that can provide reliable maintenance in a timely manner with competitive pricing, also safe. And I think my point is here that, again, there are opportunities for U.S. firms in partnership with Canadian suppliers, Canadian firms in partnership with U.S. suppliers to help both countries reach the goal of a thriving, globally competitive, safe, and environmentally responsible exploration and mining industry in North America. These Canadian-U.S. partnerships are already occurring, and I'm sure you know a lot of. I don't need to tell you any anecdotes about that. Briefly, I did mention already oil and gas, but I should mention LNG as well. I think a decade ago, most experts predicted that the United States, would be a net importer of, the world's largest importer, actually, of liquefied natural gas. And that turned out not to be so true. We're now seen as one of the world's potentially more significant exporters, if I can say that. What this means, though, and we have set our sights as an exporter. We have set our sights on exporting our product to Europe, to Asia, to Latin America. But what it means, though, is that we're still in the formative stage of this unconventional gas development, and we have a critical role in the United States, not only as the pioneer of shale gas technologies, but we have significant industry talent, we have significant capability, and we can share those lessons learned and those best practices with other countries, including Canada, that choose to explore their own shale gas resources and help them do it in a sound and sustainable way. Obviously, there are concerns about the extraction, and we need to recognize those challenges head on. Heavy utilization of water requires some reusing efforts. What about the fugitive methane emissions? We need to figure out how to reduce the dangerous greenhouse gases from those. Policymakers in the United States and in Washington, D.C. in particular, are heavily considering the next steps in this, and we'll see this as an economic benefit to the U.S., but we need to handle those environmental concerns in a responsible manner. I think I'm going to stop there. There are, of course, other areas. Agriculture was mentioned earlier. There's a huge need, of course, in the United States for food and food goods, and that's already heavily exported product from Canada into the United States. And there are some others. Clean technology is another area that's burgeoning as well, particularly through the Pacific Coast Collaborative in the Pacific Northwest Corridor. And I'm happy to answer any questions. If I can't tonight, please pass on my contact info, and I'm happy to talk to you offline. Thank you very much.